U.S. police have arrested a suspect in connection with a deadly shooting incident at a shopping mall in the state of Washington. Police identified the suspect as Arcan Cetin. The 20-year-old Turkish-born suspect was arrested after a 24-hour manhunt.
Good morning to you. It is Sunday, September 25th. I'm Abby Huntsman. This is a Fox News alert. It looked like a zombie. The manhunt is over for the person who gunned down 5 people at a Washington mall. But this morning, the motive is still a mystery. Why authorities are not ruling out terror. Manhunt is over as a suspected killer is in custody. Police arresting Arcan Cetin, you can see him there, who they say shot and killed 5 people in a Washington state mall. He was taken into custody in his hometown of Oak Harbor, about 30 miles southwest of Burlington, where the shooting happened. Well, Cetin is an immigrant from Turkey, despite initially being identified as Hispanic by authorities. There are reports he may have been mentally ill with a rap sheet, including accusations of assault and drunk driving. Terrorism is not being ruled out as a motive.
Well, we want to welcome you back. Fox News alert now. Late last night, cops in Washington arrested that suspect in that vicious mall massacre, which overtook our show yesterday morning as we were following it. But you remember yesterday morning when we were asking the eyewitnesses and the state trooper who was there and who was reporting on this, sort of almost as like as a public service, saying that he's Hispanic. That was the message coming out of the initial statements, that he was Hispanic. Based on this mall photo,
They seem so sure about it. That's what we reported yesterday. And then I think the question this morning is, did political correctness put the public in danger? And it's something that I know, Tucker, you are pretty passionate about.
Well, it turns out he was from Turkey, so he's a Hispanic Turk, which is a new category that we haven't seen before.
Right, in that press conference.
People make mistakes all the time, especially in the heat of a tragedy like this. I just am not surprised anymore to note that all of the mistakes are in the same category, which is, this is not terror. It has nothing to do with Islamic extremism. And maybe, by the way, this may not have anything to do with Islamic extremism. We don't know. But that is the point. We don't know. And yet the authorities, I think, are becoming ever less trustworthy. They are pushing an agenda. And we're getting to the point where I think most people are like, I'm not sure I believe you. And that's a perilous place to be. You want to be able to believe the authorities in crisis.
Well, and then also, the think about the community. This was a small town. And so for a whole afternoon, there was a manhunt for this guy.
Yeah.
And so if the authorities came out right away and said this guy was Hispanic, then you have everyone looking for a Hispanic male in that neighborhood, in that community, when in fact, it turns out he wasn't Hispanic.
That's a great point.
What kind of other people were put in danger, this armed guy running through the neighborhood after he killed 5 people at the mall?
And they're always the ones telling you, we're not going to jump to conclusions, but they did. They always jump to the same kind of conclusions, which is what seems obvious to you is not obvious. You're wrong.
Yeah.
Really?
I think it's a good reminder of just how we have to handle these situations. And to your point, just be careful about it, not identifying it for what it isn't, so people get confused.
Here we go again, another terror attack in America. This man's name was Arcan Cetin. He was a legal resident to America, but he was not an American citizen. And our own government has a very hard time really knowing what these people are doing in this country and why they're here. But what I don't like is how our government, our federal government under Democrat President Barack Obama, uses these attacks to promote gun control in America. And that's treasonous. This president is willing to give ISIS high-pop rifles and weapons, but he decides to take them away from the American people, just weapons to protect ourselves, and he uses this as a gun control issue. It amazes me that this guy, it says in the article that he was like a zombie. Regardless whether Arcan Cetin happened to be a man on drugs who lost his mind or an Islamic extremist, that's no reason to disarm the American people and destroy their right to bear arms. But even Al-Qaeda would want the American citizens disarmed, just like communist Russia would and all the other people who want us disarmed. And primarily, it's the Democrat Party that's pushing gun control on the American people. We all must realize that it's un-American to disarm the American people and continue the failed Democrat policies that put our lives in danger every single day. Every genocide in history has been preceded by civilian disarmament. Governments murdered 170 million unarmed innocent civilians in the 20th century. This century will be in the billions if the United Nations is able to disarm the world as they plan. Finally, if a president is disarming Americans while at the same time arming terrorists, isn't that called treason?